So today we're painting a dragon at last. This is a dragon I got from a Dungeons and Lasers Kickstarter I supported last year. And I've decided it's going to be a blue dragon. So I'm going to do a purple kind of undertone and then highlight up from that. I'm planning on not using any washes or dry brushing or anything like that. And the reason being is I have entered this into a miniature painting competition on Reddit. So I am trying my best with this. I'm probably going to end up spending a lot more time on this than I have done any other miniature. Once I've got that purple base tone down, which of course you could just do with a purple primer I imagine, would certainly be easier, I am highlighting and considering the bigger shapes as I always try to do. So I'm looking at the arm as a whole rather than the scales on it and bringing those bits up to a blue. I'm planning on having this be fairly high contrast, so I'm not going to be touching certain bits of it and it will stay that dark purple, and that will be in fairly large chunks of the miniature, more than I usually do anyway. So maybe like all of under the arm and the armpit area and perhaps bits of the belly or under the tail and stuff might be completely untouched with paint. And then my plan is to paint, maybe this is silly, but paint each scale individually and highlight into the central point. So from one side I'll pull the paint into the middle, from the other side I'll pull the paint into the middle, and then hopefully we'll have this fairly nice, smooth kind of contrast and the scales will stand out, as this is a dragon and he's got a lot of scales on him. And so I don't think the specific paints here really matter. I've just gone from a dark purple that I made myself because I didn't have any purples to hand, and then I've painted in a fairly dark, bold still but dark blue, and then I'm just going lighter and lighter with the blues that I have. I'm testing the theory I have for the scales in this small area, and then I'll work out further across the body provided I like it. Right now I am trying edge highlighting, which is something I've not really done a lot of, but I figured that would really make the scales stand out. And this is the result that I got, and I like it. This is good news and bad news. It's good news because I now have a plan. It's bad news that I have to do this over the entire thing, and it was somewhat time consuming. The back of this miniature has kind of completely different scales, so I've got a different approach here where I'm just blending from the middle of the neck to the outside, where I assume the light would be lighter on the outside of it. I don't really have a plan at the moment for certain bits of the miniature, so like the spikes on the back or the wings. So this miniature will probably be painted over two parts. This first part will be about the bulk of the body, and then we'll look at doing the wings and then maybe the finer details like the head or the mouth and eyes and things like that in another video. But as you can see here, using the same blues as I did before, it's starting to come together. Done a bit of work on the arms, and I'm kind of building out in this almost spherical 3D shape out from the first bit that I painted. And this is how it's going. Now we have the leg to do and the tail, and then basically all of the other side. I'm considering the light being strongest from this side of the dragon, so I will probably do the other side not quite as bright. I did take some reference photos with the miniature just primed under a light, so I had a bit of a light reference photo, which is something I've not really done before. I found it somewhat helpful in the beginning, but I must admit I didn't reference it, I didn't look at it probably as much as I should have. But regardless, I think the areas where I had light and dark were, I don't know about right, but were appealing to me. The tail is interesting in terms of trying to get the light in the right places because it curls and twists, and that's a little bit challenging. Also, it's obviously lower down, so it probably should be darker than the rest of the miniature. I got to this point where most of the body was done and the head was obviously sticking out. I decided to paint all of the head with the blue because I want that to be a bit lighter than everything else, just so it stands out. So pretty much all of the darkest shadows will be this lighter blue. And then going back in, doing more details with the lighter and lighter blues, layering up so we can get a nice highlight across the head. There are a few horns around the head, and at the moment I'm leaving those because I imagine I'll come back and do those in a completely different colour or style or something, so I'm not too worried about those at the moment. I just want to get the main bulk of the face done. With the scales done, at least done for now, I imagine that once I've got other bits done I'll want to go in and refine them more. I haven't done that much edge highlighting, but I've got the colours down at least. It's time to start painting the, I guess, belly of the miniature. This goes down to the tail, so we have like the under the side of the tail in this sort of colour as well. Just like with the scales, I'm planning on highlighting into the kind of crease, the points that we have forming naturally. So I'll be pulling the brush across from one side to the other, meeting in the middle, and so hopefully that's where all of the paint and highlights will really sit, and we'll have this nice kind of 3D volume. Again, concentrating on the light coming from our right or the dragon's left, so a lot of that area will be lighter than the rest. Now I'm trying some more edge highlighting, and it's definitely helping to stand out between the scales or the plates across the belly. So it's definitely something I need to, I guess, work on, but also put across more of the miniature. So now I'm going in with a smaller brush, trying to do some more details, trying to refine it, doing the edge highlighting or just general highlighting at this point, but with white. It's a somewhat transparent white, but my plan here is if it ends up being too white, I will just glaze over with perhaps the original blue. I might do that anyway over the entire miniature, just to make sure it's actually blue, just to kind of blend it and bring in some uniformity. I'm not really bothered about getting the mouth or the head or anything done at this point, but it stands out that it's unpainted, so I'm just getting some paint and colour in there just so it doesn't kind of contrast against everything else so much, and I can get an idea of what the entire thing will look like. I don't imagine the tongue will stay that colour. Same for the eyes, they are white at the moment so that any light colour can go in there. I painted the teeth and the claws the same colour, but I think I've decided I'd like the claws to be black. As I say, this isn't necessarily the final way that these things will look, but it's what we have for now, just so we can get an idea of what the miniature looks like, and maybe help us decide on what colours they will be in the future. But as we stand, this is the miniature, and I think that's where we'll call this video. So I have the main bulk of the body down, we just have to decide what we're going to be doing with the wings and all the other bits. But I think right now the colour scheme that we have between the belly and the scales looks really cool. For me, I'm very happy with how much contrast and vibrancy that we've managed to get from the scales. It took a lot longer than I actually thought that it was going to, but I think that was just because I was aware that I was taking my time and just trying to do a decent job of it. I definitely could have used various techniques or just sped the process up, but I guess taking your time and just enjoying the hobby isn't a bad thing. So hopefully you like the dragon so far. I will obviously be making a part 2 where we finish the dragon, and I will let you know how we get on in the competition. So until next time, bye!